Can y'all still hear me in there? Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team. 9 o'clock here on Friday with this live extended weather update. And normally I start these updates talking about our local weather, but I want to start tonight talking about the tropics because we just got some new information in within the last hour on Tropical Storm Erin out in the Atlantic. And it is still officially a tropical storm. However, a NOAA aircraft flew a mission into this storm this afternoon. They flew in from St. Croix and then kind of crossed through the path or the track of that storm multiple times to get some new data from that. And they're now saying that max winds are at 70 miles an hour, and that is just below hurricane strength. In order to have a hurricane, the winds need to be 74 miles an hour or greater. So we're just below that hurricane strength. It is possible that by 11 o'clock tonight, it may increase to 75 miles an hour to give us an official hurricane. If not by then, I'm thinking it'll be by tomorrow morning when we see the storm reach hurricane strength. And then after that, it is going to continue to get stronger moving across the Atlantic. So let me show you some of the latest developments that we have with this system right now. Winds at 70 miles an hour. Moving to the west at 17 miles an hour. And as we have zoomed in a little bit closer, you can see where it is now in relation to the islands here. It is less than 800 miles away from the northern Leeward Islands. But you can see here, before I zoom into these warnings that we have here, I want to show you what we're watching. And it does look like it's getting a little better organized. As I mentioned, NOAA aircraft flew into it to get some data out of that. They're going to be doing many more missions into that storm to get the latest information so that we'll know not only when it becomes a hurricane, but then as it does become a hurricane, more of the strengthening of it as it keeps moving really to the west, and then it's going to take a little bit of a curve to the north and west as well. Here is a look at what we're watching with the tropical storm watches that are in effect for multiple islands here in the northern Leeward Islands, including Anguilla, Barbuda. Also, St. Martin is included in these watches that we have and a few other of the islands here in this area. Now, once this becomes a hurricane, those advisories are going to be most likely upgraded to potentially a hurricane warning or a hurricane watch. As you can see here, the storm doesn't look like it's going to make direct impact on those northern Leeward Islands. It looks like it's also going to stay to the north of Puerto Rico. It looks like it's going to stay to the north of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It looks like it's going to stay to the east of the Bahamas. So we're not concerned about a direct hit with the eye of the storm moving into those islands. However, it looks like it will be close enough that it will bring some wind and a lot of rough surf here along these islands as well. Now watch this strengthening. Not only do we think it's going to become a hurricane either late tonight or early tomorrow, but then a Cat 2 on Saturday in the afternoon. Then on Sunday, most likely a Category 3, increasing in strength to 125 miles an hour. We're thinking by Tuesday afternoon, still well to the east of the Bahamas there, but it'll be nearing Cat 4 strength. The other thing I want you to see here by looking at this track, we have been talking for days now about expecting this system to make a turn and move away from the U.S. coastline. And the latest track still shows that turn taking place. But the issue is going to be just when is that turn going to start taking place and how sharp will it be? And those are going to be big time determining factors on what type of impacts the southeastern U.S. coast could see. Here's a look at the latest spaghetti model plots. And the consensus of these plots, now you look here at the beginning of this, all these lines are kind of together. But as you go out further in time, these lines start spreading apart a little bit, and that just shows the differences in where the models think this is going to track. But so far, all of these models show it curving away and not making a direct landfall on the southeastern coastline. This even pretty much the consensus shows this going between Bermuda. You see Bermuda right there, that little tiny speck that you see out there in the Atlantic, and going here between the United States. However, some models show it coming closer to the Carolina coastline, and a couple of those are some of the European models show it coming a little bit closer to North Carolina, but again, not a direct impact. So if you've been listening to us and hearing us talking about, okay, it's going to curve away from the United States, still don't let your guard down, because even if it doesn't make a landfall on the U.S. coastline, which again, we don't think that it will, however, we do think it's going to be close enough for there to be at least some impacts on the southeastern coastline, including the Florida coast, the Georgia coast, the South Carolina coast, North Carolina coast, and on up more to the north as well. So this is a look at the tropical winds in association with it. And you see those stronger winds that you see in the reds there and even the pink colors, that's out there in association with these 70-mile-an-hour winds here with the center of that storm. So watch as it goes just to the north of the Leeward Islands there and near the Bahamas. This is going to be on Monday at 1:30, and this is the European model that we're using here, which actually has been showing the track going a little more west than some of the other models. But I want you to look at these winds. Now, still the center of the storm not making direct impact on the Bahama Islands, but look at the winds extending out from it. So possibly even close enough for some of these islands to have tropical storm force winds and also rough surf. Now, watch as it continues moving to the north and eventually curving away. But I want you to notice this. Wednesday morning, by the middle of the week, look at the yellow color coming here to the Georgia coast, the Florida coast, South Carolina coast, North Carolina coast, even getting into some of that orange color. We're talking the Georgia coast could be seeing winds maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. North Carolina coast could be seeing winds closer to 30 miles an hour going into the middle of the week. So even though it's not a direct landfall, there will still be some impacts. The other thing, so that's talking about the wind. The other thing I want you to know about is there's going to be some rough surf along the Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina coast, and even moving up to the north to the mid-Atlantic region too. So if you have plans this weekend to be on the Atlantic coast, I want you to be aware the water's going to be dangerous. There will be some rip currents there. And again, I do think that we're going to have most likely some water rescues off the coast for people who are playing in the ocean and in those rough waves that could get caught up in some of those rip currents. So even though not a direct impact, direct landfall, there will be some impacts on parts of the southeastern coastline. So we definitely have to watch that. And then it's going to pull away, we think, during the day on Thursday, taking those waves and those winds up to even the New England area. There's another area that we are watching here in the southern Gulf there in the Bay of Campeche. And the National Hurricane Center is actually increasing the percentages with this system potentially becoming a tropical depression or a tropical storm. They're now giving it about a 50% chance that that could happen over the next few days. What we think this is going to do is kind of sit out here in the Gulf, move up closer to Mexico or into southern Texas over the next few days. But whether or not this becomes a depression or a storm and gets a name, it's still going to be bringing a lot of tropical rain into the eastern coast of Texas, or the eastern coast of Mexico and the southern part of Texas. So this is definitely one of those systems that we do need to continue to watch. And of course, we're going to be tracking all of it here for you from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team. The other thing that we need to watch is our own local weather, where it has been quiet out there today. No rain around. Again, at this time of night, we see false echoes here on the radar. So this is not rain that you're seeing from Atlanta down to the south side. We have been watching a few of those showers in parts of northeast Georgia during the late afternoon hours and into early evening. They were earlier up around Toccoa in Rabun County in northeast Georgia. We're also watching some of these showers that have been going through parts of Banks County coming out of White County. There's Hall County here, Habersham County. Saw a few of those showers. Now Banks County is getting some of that more moderate rain settling down. There was a little bit of lightning in Banks County earlier. Also into parts of Franklin County. More of these showers and storms moving down really to the west of Elberton and just to the south of Comer, moving a little bit closer to Enterprise. That's all to the east of the Athens area. So that's really all that we have out there right now. And again, no rain here in Atlanta. Those are false echoes that we're seeing. So yeah, it's been a pretty dry night and a dry afternoon. But it was also warm with our temperatures today that made it up into the lower 90s. Then elsewhere around the region, you can see down in middle Georgia, down in South Georgia, a few more clouds there with some rain and a few thunderstorms that are pretty much all falling apart at this hour. Here is a live look at what we're watching right now up in Rome, where you can see the dark conditions, of course, here at the nighttime hour. Sunset now is before 8:30, so now when I show these live shots after 9 o'clock, it's dark out there, but we're not seeing any rain. It is dry there. This is a live view, our tower cam at Truist Park. We moved it to look over more toward the east, where you can see 285 here and 75 going up to the north right there. But it's quiet and things are looking pretty good. And then, sorry that I'm showing you this is the wrong remote that's plugged in there. But anyway, things are nice and quiet out there during the evening hours tonight. Look at the almanac. We did hit 91 today. Our low this morning was 75. Those temperatures above average. We should be around 89 this time of year. We were telling you over the past couple of days that our average high now is coming down a little bit. Now our average high is 89 instead of 90. No rain officially at Hartsfield-Jackson. We're now between 3/4 and an inch below where we should be in rainfall for the year. Here's a look at the last 20 hours. That mild air out there this morning, mid-70s. We climbed up to 82, then back to 81, kind of showing the differences of times when we had sun versus clouds. Then this is when we bumped up into those lower 90s here this afternoon. So all afternoon, it was either upper 80s or lower 90s. It was a really warm day. And out there right now, we're still holding in the 80s at 83 degrees. Down to the south, we've got some 78s and 77s. Most areas in the metro region still holding in those lower 80s. And then we've got more of the 70s up in parts of North Georgia. The planner for tomorrow shows those temperatures starting off at 74. Then, yeah, we're going to get hot tomorrow, up to 93 degrees. So even a couple of degrees warmer than we were today. We're not expecting widespread rain, but also we're not expecting a 0% chance for showers. It'll be those afternoon hours where we see that chance for a few of those pop-ups to develop. Let's say between 2 and 7 o'clock in the afternoon and evening is when we'll see that better chance. In fact, we're really just going back to that summertime pattern where we have plenty of heat, we have some humidity to mix in, and then at times, that will just bubble up a couple of those isolated showers, but they wouldn't be widespread at all. So what you need to do, number one, make sure you have a way to stay cool during the day, whether it's a fan, air conditioner, a pool, or just some ways to keep cool out there. And also just be flexible because there could be a couple of those showers that pop up into those afternoon hours. Here's the forecast track. To the east is where we're seeing showers. I told you guys earlier at 5 and 6 o'clock tonight that I really thought this model was overdoing it, and it is still overdoing it. We're not seeing that much rain over on the east side tonight. But again, any of those showers that are up to the north in parts of Banks County will be diminishing during the overnight. And tomorrow morning, we start off dry. Lunchtime is still dry. And then tomorrow, again, about a 30% chance for a shower. I still think this model is overdoing it for the depiction for tomorrow afternoon. Dry to start on Saturday. Saturday's going to be a pretty good day, mostly dry hours. There might be just a couple of showers popping up here and there. We did bring the chances up on Saturday from 20% to 30%, but I am holding with just a 20% chance for a shower here on Sunday. I really think that most of us will stay dry on Sunday afternoon, but with that drier air, it's also going to be hot. Each and every day through the next 7 days, we think that we will make it up to at least those lower 90s. So here's a look at the rain chances. 30% Friday and Saturday, 20% Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And look at the dew points. Now, I've been talking about a northwesterly flow bringing in some slightly drier air, meaning the dew points coming down just a little bit, hanging in the lower 70s, maybe some upper 60s. And that's the indicator of the feel to the air might be a little bit better, not quite as oppressive out there if we see those dew points that go back to the upper 60s. Look at these highs though, 93 here tomorrow, 92 Saturday, 91 Sunday, back to 93 Monday, 92 on your Tuesday, and we'll see those rain chances staying on the lower end until we get to the middle of next week. That's when they start coming back just a little bit more. So take a look at that 7-day outlook. There's the hot air tomorrow, 93 degrees for a high. 30% chance for a shower Friday and Saturday. Sunday, we're down to a 20% chance. I really think that most areas are going to stay dry, and that high right around 91. Holding with a 20% chance for a shower Monday, Tuesday, highs around 93, 92. Back to a 30% chance for showers here on Wednesday as well as on Thursday. So that's just kind of a typical summertime pattern, with temperatures trending just a little bit above where we should be as we are now into the middle of August. Thank you for watching this extended update here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, be sure and download the 11 Alive Plus app on your television. You'll not only see extended weather updates like this all throughout the day, but also special weather content there on 11 Alive Plus. You can download it on your TV and stream for free. Thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this. We'll have more updates for you tonight at 11 o'clock, where we'll have a new advisory in from the National Hurricane Center on Tropical Storm Erin, and then of course updates throughout the day tomorrow.